has elevated Prince Charles to King Charles.
No shit.
I studied in London, and so I lived in London for a while, and I got caught up in the pomp and circumstance of it all as well. I wanted to see the changing of the guards. I wanted to see everything. I wanted to meet the Queen. Food is awful because I studied in London. I lived in London. I actually loved the pomp and circumstance of it all when I was there. And I, you know, I sat outside and I watched the changing of the guards. And I got caught up in the pomp and circumstance of it all as well. I wanted to see the changing of the guards. You know, I sat outside and I watched the changing of the guards as well. I wanted to see the changing of the guards. Outside and I watched the changing of the guards as well. I wanted to see the changing of the guards. I wanted to see everything. I wanted to meet the Queen. And I think, though, we can mourn the Queen and not the empire.
Yeah.
Because if you really think about what the monarchy was built on, it was built on the backs of black and brown people. She wore a crown with pillaged stones from India and Africa.
Bullshit alert. Bullshit alert.
Bullshit.
She wore a crown with pillaged stones from India and Africa.
Because Queen Elizabeth took the crown in 1952. The British had already given up India. In fact, Queen Elizabeth in her 20s and 30s granted independence to dozens of nations.
It was built on the backs of black and brown people.
The British strategy of indirect rule was more gentle compared to the brutal imperial conquests of, I don't know, Japan, Spain, Germany, the Ottoman Empire. Don't even get me started on the Incas and the Aztecs.
And now what you're seeing, at least in the black communities that I'm a part of, they want reparations.
Look, the United States was built on the backs of black and brown
And
people.
we want our reparations.
And
I left my daughter when she was 14 months old in the back of our car. And I was with my husband, and it was a hot July day.
Jumped on the Trump train. Donald came to drain the swamp. Now it's time to make it rain. Butthead. Ooh, butthead.
I left my daughter when she was 14 months old in the back of our car.
Pack your bags and take your couch. Don't let the door hit you.
look, the United States. Look, the United States.
We want our reparations.
You get nothing. You lose.
The fact that Britain and the monarchy took like $1 trillion from Africa, and I've learned that, you know, Jamaica is now removing the Queen from her position there, and Barbados removed the Queen, and all the Caribbean islands are removing the Queen. Now I'm not as enamored of the pomp and circumstance because it was built on the backs and the souls of slaves.
Countries are considered lucky to be a part of the Commonwealth and are allowed to trade with some of the most innovative nations in the world. Not to mention, you're protected by a world-class military, especially the Navy. This isn't to say that the British Empire was pristine. In the early age of exploration, horrific atrocities were committed against indigenous populations. Not to mention the fact that Britain became the largest slave-owning state in the world. That was at the time when all nations in all continents had slaves. But Great Britain was the single force behind the destruction of the international slave trade. Obviously, the leftists in the media won't tell you that. They'd rather tell you the Queen's crown was made by slaves.
She wore a crown with pillaged stones from India and Africa.
In 1833, Great Britain officially abolished slavery. The British were so set on its destruction that their navy boarded vessels from other countries, freeing all the slaves on board. And for decades, Africans, Arabs, Germans, and others resisted abolition. Even to this day, slavery exists in places like Africa, the Middle East, and in China. So when the Queen assumed the throne in 1952, Great Britain had abolished slavery over a century ago.
You do know that Queen Elizabeth fought against apartheid in South Africa.
That was one of the good things she did.
She was, and she also was very angry with Thatcher, who refused to do sanctions against South Africa.
Yeah.
So she tried, I think, her best, if she could, every once in a while. She really didn't have that much power. She was the figurehead.
And you don't think the British monarchy was rich before slavery? Come on. They were rich before, during, and after. What these people don't realize is that when we rebelled against the British, we weren't rebelling against their way of life. All we wanted was our own government. And throughout the world, the former British colonies that continued to embrace the British system have done far better than the former colonies that rejected it.
So despite what they may be claiming on Twitter tonight, the British Empire was more than just genocide. In fact, the British did not commit genocide, except arguably against the Dutch during the Boer War.
I'd take the British Empire over the Russian or Chinese Empire any day.
The British did give the world the Magna Carta and habeas corpus and free speech. They helped end the transatlantic slave trade, as well as the ritual murder of widows in India. The British Empire spread Protestant Christianity to the entire world. It published some of the greatest literature ever written and produced the finest manufactured goods ever made anywhere at any time, including now. It was an impressive place run by impressive people.
Stephen, why do you think these people hate the Queen so much?
Well, I mean, a big part of it is that they're idiots, and so you can't just count that.